Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Erin.
And this is Maine and Local.
It is Suicide Awareness Week, and this week we have an interview with Ashley Davis, who is a licensed therapist here in Ohio County, about mental health and suicide issues and what resources we have.
So stay tuned. And welcome back to Maine and Local. Before we get started, we'd like to remind you to please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel, our Facebook, all social media, and help get the word out. And you're certainly welcome to comment and tell us more of what you would like to see on Maine and Local.
All right, so again, a suicide awareness walk. We're going to get into the interview with Ashley here in a few moments, but we have a suicide awareness walk that's going to happen Saturday, September 26th, out at Ohio County Park here in Hartford.
That is, and this kind of coincides with Suicide Awareness Week, which is actually happening as this airs, as
right.
People will
yes.
be seeing this for the first time.
The suicide awareness walk, there's going to be a lot of activity, so a lot of people can get involved.
They can, and as it's kind of noted, it's to raise awareness. And you know, there's going to be the things that you would find at a lot of events, usually that we would have in September. There's going to be food, and there's
bouncy house,
house.
Stuff for kids, stuff for kids too.
And there's one thing in particular that's going to be here. They'll have an ambulance there that they can check out, but they'll also have coping skill exercises.
Right.
And that's not something that we necessarily think of, but it's, you know, this is all ages, and it starts very early.
Right.
You know, and so this is a great thing that's been organized, and very excited about that event. And we hope to be there as well. Yeah. And, you know, get word from people. There's going to be a remembrance ceremony, you know, and things like that. So it's really a great event that's coming up Saturday, the 26th.
All right. So, and they will have T-shirts. And if you want to find out more about this, go to facebook.com, Stand Up OC for information on the Suicide Awareness Walk. Our interview with Ashley is next. We're back on Maine and Local. We have a guest again this week, and it is owner and therapist at Mending Minds Therapy, Ashley Davis. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited and nervous.
All right, so explain to us what you do, what your title is.
Okay, so I'm an LCSW, that's licensed clinical social worker. I provide outpatient therapy in many different aspects in the community and for some surrounding areas.
So you do surrounding areas too?
I have an office in Hartford here. Some people come from different areas.
Yeah.
For example, I contract with the Children's Advocacy Center as well, and that covers a couple of different counties, Hancock, Ohio, and I get some from Davis.
Okay.
And Suicide Awareness Week is actually coming up, and we have a lot of awareness going around, and this is something that isn't talked about a lot. And why is that?
Okay, good question. Why aren't we talking about suicide awareness? So mental health tends to have this stigma attached to it. You know, we can, like we were talking about during the break, you know, it's okay for us to say, hey, support my friend, they have lung cancer, but we don't go around saying, hey, I'm depressed, or you know, I'm suffering from severe anxiety, I have a hard time getting out of bed sometimes. So, and people are afraid to talk about it too. I have people ask me, is it okay to ask if I can ask them about suicide? They're afraid that we're going to put thoughts into people's heads that aren't already there.
Right. And that's something else. As you mentioned, we talk about so many other things, but are people afraid that somebody's going to put them away?
It just has a stigma to it, I think.
Yeah,
it still has a stigma after all these years.
Yeah, and exactly. People are afraid, oh, this might become my record, or this might prevent me from having custody of my children down the road. But mental health is just, you know, if you were having chest pains, we'd send you to the doctor, to a cardiologist. So, and you wouldn't avoid that because of, maybe I won't get my kids, you know. So we have to normalize that we all have mental health, and you know, sometimes it's better on some days than it is on the other days.
Okay, so COVID-19, we've brought it up on every episode because that's what we're going through.
Yeah.
What kind of, I guess, intake, or how many calls, or how many people are worried about it, which I imagine a lot of people are.
Yeah. So I know around here, we don't have a lot of mental health therapists, and we're slammed right now. People are having lots of experiences of negative impacts from the things that are going on. The social isolation, that's big for some people. Financial stressors. We're living in one day to the next. We don't know what kind of decisions we're going to have to be making. So there's just this extreme stressors on everybody and anxiety all around.
Mm-hmm.
And have suicide rates gone up than during the pandemic?
So I haven't seen any data on that right now, and this data usually takes a while to pull together. There potentially could be, like I said, those stressors that I just mentioned, and if we're not seeing them now, it might even be later down the road as the impact continues to build, if people don't go out and get help.
I think that's one statistic that's overlooked during this whole thing, because they think, well, this is just a health issue or a physical health issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard some, politicians and stuff start to mention it, but,
right. Yeah.
What are we going to do about it?
And what are some of the rates for the state of Kentucky?
So the most recent rates that I have are from 2018, and this is from suicidology.org. Suicidology.org. So our national rate in 2008 was 48,344 deaths by suicide. Kentucky ranked 21st that year at 800 suicides. So that was 17.9% of our population died with suicide.
So what are some of the precursors?
So there's, lots of different issues. Again, going back to the stressors I've already mentioned, financial stressors, mental health, undiagnosed mental health, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, those things play a huge role too. A lot of times, just think about somebody who's been drinking. They're likely to send that text that they normally wouldn't send when they're sober. So whenever their inhibitions are lowered by substances, that plays a huge role in, well, I've been depressed anyway, I've had this kind of come through my mind, and then the follow through.
And is it a local issue here in Ohio County?
Suicide?
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't have those numbers right now. I'm working on getting that, though.
What mental health resources do we have in the county? Like, overall, what do we have available? Because that I know of didn't have it, but I don't know. That was 25 years ago, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our Community Mental Health Center, which is River Valley. So they cover all of the Green River area, so that's in Beaver Dam. We have several private practice offices, a lot in Hartford. There's some that even are specifically Christian counselors. So Ohio County has an abundance. It's just, like you said, we don't go, hey, my therapist is great. You should go check her out, just like you would back to the heart doctor.
And what is the cost? Is there any type of way for free for somebody that just cannot afford it and they really need it?
Absolutely. So the Community Mental Health, River Valley, they take insurance, but they also will work on a sliding scale. So that's going to look at the number of people in your household, your income. There's other things like New Beginnings Rape Crisis Center, completely free, runs off grants. Children's Advocacy Center, same. And then there's even options like giveanhour.org. So that is for military members or their families. So that's completely free service as well.
So there's really no reason for somebody to say, oh, I don't think I could even begin to handle this financially. You want them to get there, and then you'll work on the rest of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. If somebody comes and they're struggling, nobody's going to say, psst,
yeah,
get out of here. We want to help you. And even if it's not, myself, I'm going to help you find somebody that you can afford or that does fit with your schedule.
So what would be one of the steps that somebody would take? What would be that first step?
First step is, just realizing like, hey, it's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay. And the great thing about having a therapist is, my little inside joke is, this is Vegas. What happens here stays here, with the exception of just a couple of things. And that's the first thing I always go over. So, we can talk about how awful your neighbor is, or, and it doesn't leave that room. So that's great. I'm going to put together a list that I think we can attach to this program. So it'll have all the phone numbers and things. So that's all you really got to do is just
call somebody.
Yeah.
And it's a confidential situation.
Absolutely.
That's the other thing. Because I guess a lot of people are going to think they're ashamed, or they don't want to say, "Hey, I need help." Do they feel like I don't know? Maybe some people feel like, well, it's not the cool thing, or I'm admitting that I'm a little weak in an area or something like that.
Yeah. So and that brings up a big point. Women will seek treatment a lot more often than men. But men even seem to have that, or males seem to have that. Men don't talk about this kind of thing more often than we see the women. But now once men get in there, they're ready to work their problems.
So therapy with adults and then therapy with children. We have resources to cover all of that, right? Or that something's better than the other, but we can have that here in Ohio County.
Yes. Yeah. Not everybody sees youngsters.
There is somewhere close, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I see little ones, River Valley, New Beginnings, Children's Advocacy. So.
What about, with social media, online bullying? That's taken a different form than what it used to be. Now, especially with kids that aren't in school anymore, but there's still the online aspect. And that's something that starts, like I said, back from childhood.
Absolutely. And this is all the kids have to do right now is be on the internet. So that really requires lots of adult supervision. And your kids are going to get mad at you for checking their phone, but it's our job to watch out for them.
What are some signs that people might not, that should look for? Maybe they don't realize it, or maybe after the fact, sometimes they'll look back and say, "Oh, I should have known."
Yeah. So just hopelessness. I'm just feeling like tomorrow's never going to get better. Next year's never going to get better. Just those real deep blues. Big warning signs might be giving away prized possessions or finding a permanent place for their loved pets. Of course, some of the more obvious things like gaining access to weapons, pills, like hoarding pills. Some other things, increased anxiety, agitation, threats of suicide.
Maybe even jokes, as they say, references anyway.
Yeah, references.
It's not a laughing matter, but some people might make a reference to it and lightly.
Right, and if that's out of character for them, if they're not all into that topic on a normal basis and that's out of character, that's definitely something to pay attention to.
Okay, how did you become interested in this type of work?
I don't know. I just always remember wanting to be in the setting and to be able to help people and listen, and I get to talk and listen for a living. Mental health does impact myself. I suffer from anxiety. I've had traumas. I've seen loved ones go through some things too. So
and some people might be surprised to hear that. They think their therapist, perhaps, or a therapist, they have it all, they know all the answers. Nobody really has all the answers, right?
Right. Exactly. So
and there's recently been a mental health committee that's been established here,
and that's something new that I've never heard of before, and I think that's great.
It's brand spanking new. So we've met maybe I think 3 times. The fiscal court decided to put it together at one meeting, I guess 2 or 3 months ago, with the intentions of bringing mental health awareness to the community, more resources, and helping identify those barriers and those things that are leading to our suicides in the community.
Is there one big incident that led to that, or just they said, well, we need to tackle this finally? Or
I think that was let's work on this.
Now, how about somebody that doesn't want to admit it? You can tell, you can see the signs. Is it a situation? Say I knew somebody, for example. It's
sometimes they say, well, you can't make somebody, but what is something that you could do to help?
Mm-hmm. So really being an active listener, having those open-ended questions. I think I mentioned earlier, it's okay to say, are you having suicidal thoughts? That's a big question. So it's sometimes a relief for somebody to just ask that question so they can finally say, yes, I am. And then you just listen. And then you can help guide them to some of these phone numbers that, we're talking about for some help. Of course, drive them to the hospital, call 911 if there's immediate danger.
It's like you mentioned earlier, if somebody was having a heart attack, the first thing you would do is you would take and call an ambulance, or you would do what it took to get them the help that they needed.
Absolutely.
And some people are just very stubborn about help. And how would you encourage them to just say, let's check this out at least?
I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I think that would probably
be great. Yeah.
Let's do this together.
Because not everybody is, I guess, in tune with what therapy really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is talking and you're listening, but I mean, there's medication involved. Sometimes there's medication involved, but
so your therapist won't be a prescriber generally. That's going to be a medical doctor, or psychiatrist, something like that. And usually, if you're to the point, it's either if you get to the point where you need medication, your therapist might say, "Hey, let's help you find somebody," or your doctor might say, "Okay, I'm giving you this medicine, but you need more." So the medication's great. It's going to help quicker. The therapy, you're going to gain skills to last you a lifetime.
right.
So it's kind of a network, though. I mean, you can refer them to somebody that can help them in other departments if it does come down to that, say it's medication or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So as a therapist, what is the most important thing that a person can do that is dealing with mental issues?
Okay. So some of the first things I tell my clients, I really like to try to look at more natural paths, things that we can do, things that everybody can do. So it's going to be like nutrition. I use the example, you can't put watered down gas into your car and expect it to go 1,000 miles. We have to put good nutrients into our bodies, our mind, our guts, it's all connected. Of course, exercise is important. Learning breathing techniques from like guided meditation or just a good deep belly breath. You can learn that in yoga as well, and you can YouTube all these things all day long. So those are really important things to try to do naturally. So some people just need, some people can do well with just the therapy. Some people are having more severe symptoms that maybe have been more chronic, and that they might benefit from the combination of therapy and medication.
All right, as far as therapy today, how have things changed when you started in the past 10 years?
The awareness that trauma needs to be addressed and really looked at the underlying issues that are leading people to have anxiety and depression. A lot of times anxiety and depression are our body's way of helping us to get through certain situations. Watching domestic violence growing up, just things that weren't the best circumstances. So being trauma informed is really starting to be more involved in not just mental health, but physical therapists, doctors. They're starting to recognize too that these adverse effects have long-term
mental effects. Yeah.
Mental and physical.
Yeah, mental and physical.
So you have therapy and you have medication. Sometimes it's a matter of having a combination of both. You have to take it on a case-by-case basis, I guess would be the situation with that.
Okay, Ashley, as a therapist, what concerns you right now with COVID? I mean, it's just constant situation that we may see for, I don't know how many more months, maybe years. I hate to think about that.
Hopefully that goes away sooner than later. So I've been really concerned about our children. Teachers are generally the #1 reporter of child abuse. Our teachers haven't seen the kids in forever. Not only is that probably hard on the teachers because, you know, they go into this profession because they care. But these kids are at homes where there's a lot of stress going on. Maybe dad's lost his job. Maybe mom's trying to juggle 2 jobs, or, you know, there's lots of stressors going on. So when families are just in turmoil, child abuse rates can go up, but then we're all isolated. So nobody's going to know that this child needs help. Elderly are another population that
Exactly.
I'm really concerned about.
That's a lot of isolate. That's probably more isolated than the average person.
Absolutely.
In some situations.
Yeah, because we're telling them, hey, you don't go anywhere, bad things are going to happen. And sometimes this, like the senior center, I know that's been a great source for my mama, for example. After she lost her husband, she would go there every single day.
Right.
And then when this happened,
can't happen.
that's it.
Right.
Stuck in the house. So I think it's important for us to reach out to our neighbors, send, you know, little postcards to some of the elderly that you might know.
I've seen that they've done pen pal things for nursing homes and such. I think that's such a great idea. Awesome idea.
That is great. We all need to take a part in helping with this. This is a mental health issue, and we all can play a part in helping reduce some of the problems that are coming along with COVID.
What's some other things that we can do outside of that? I mean, we've focused on the elderly and we've talked about the kids, but just some things in general. What's something, maybe somebody on the outside, maybe they see something out of somebody else and they're like, well, I'm not too close to them. You know, what's something they can do?
So number one, everybody in Kentucky is a mandated reporter. So if you do know of a child being abused or an elderly person being abused, then we have to make a report, not just therapists, not just doctors, you know, your local post office person, the trash pickup.
Accountability.
Yeah. So that's one thing to be aware of. A lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are some things that we can do that we're accountable for? Say me is just, I see or I know of something, I'm pretty certain, even though I'm not close to those people.
Is it private or public that we're acknowledging or saying something that's, or if there's a difference between that or
private or public? What? I'm sorry. I'm not following.
I'm sorry.
When they see somebody struggling.
Somebody's struggling.
Yeah, the average.
What would you say at a minimum they should do?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do? Who do you call?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the first thing you can do?
Hotline.
Like a welfare check? Can you, you know?
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
What can I do?
Or how can you get involved, I guess?
Yeah.
Every time I talk to Sam or on Facebook, he puts all these super depressing posts, and I'm really concerned about what he's saying. I know Facebook has a reporting feature, but is there something else I can do?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Sam.
Yeah. Those cryptic. They're cryptic.
Cats, and we just don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry.
All right. You rolled into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's something that we can do? Say we notice something public. Say it's something on Facebook. You know, we might not actually know that person well enough, but we get a hint that there's something going on. What's something we could do?
So maybe if it's not somebody that you know closely, but you maybe know their brother or something, and say, hey, you know, I've seen some concerning things. Could you reach out? And then follow up on that. Don't just leave it there. Other things that we can do, you know, help. Just be kind. We can all just smile at each other. Well, it's hard to smile now that we have masks on, but kindness goes a really long way.
It's kind of underrated now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you never know what somebody has just been through. Like, you know, if somebody's forgot to use their turning signal, we don't have to go through a big rage. Maybe they just found out some really terrible news. We really need to have grace for other people and grace for ourselves as well. Sharing hotline numbers, and we can attach that to, I think. There's national hotline numbers. You can even text them nowadays, which is great for teens. I know they don't want to talk to anybody on the phone, so that texting option is amazing. There are some online therapy
kind of resources or
some kind of like online therapist, I guess. So there's lots of options, and right now entrances are even paying for Zoom type sessions because of COVID.
Okay.
So that's another thing. If normally, hey, I can't like leave work to come to a therapy session, well, maybe you've got 45 minutes on your lunch break that you'd like to spend with your cell phone, talking to a professional. So there's that's one good thing that we've seen from COVID is that some of the insurances have opened up a little bit of their restrictions with how we can serve the public.
Because there's probably a lot of people who are not okay, but it's okay to not be okay during all of this going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We're not okay.
Well, Ashley, we want to thank you for coming in today, and we kind of want to end with, if there's anybody that is watching this and perhaps...
or listening.
Listening. And it kind of strikes a chord with them, and they start to think, okay, I can relate to this either personally or by somebody I know. Who could they reach out to? What could they, what's a number, perhaps?
The National Suicide Prevention Line is 800-273-8255. And then the text number, you can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. So that's the crisis text line. So that's a great place to start. Of course, if anybody's in immediate danger, 911, emergency room, those are your go-tos. And then I'll be getting some resources together for local numbers for you guys.
Okay.
Well, we thank you, as I said, for coming in. This is it is Suicide Awareness Week, as this is airing, and this was an opportune time for you to come in, and we'd love to have you come back.
Well, great, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you, and that is Maine and Local. Thank you all for joining us.